Welcome to the channel Darkness in the Night. Tonight, I will take you back to a village that seemed peaceful. But beneath the damp soil lay the cries of restless souls that had never found release. My village. The entire village was nestled in the middle of vast fields, surrounded only by whistling winds and rows of swaying old bamboo. By day, it looked serene, but as soon as the sun dipped behind the hills and darkness settled in, the wind howled across the fields, sending chills down people's spines. Everyone whispered that strange things haunted this place each night. Faint cries of children echoed somewhere in the dark. Inside a moss-stained, tiled house, Nak, a woman 5 months pregnant, sat by the fire. Frail and small in stature, her eyes still shone with quiet determination. Her belly was round, and her thin hands gently caressed it, as if lulling the unborn child to sleep. That evening, the wind was fierce. It shrieked across the thatched roof like someone groaning. Nak stared at the bamboo cradle by the bed, her voice trembling. "My parents are eager to meet their grandchild. Tomorrow, I'll go to Doi village to visit them and prepare a few things for the birth." Min, her husband, a gentle and hard-working man, sat at the table, his sun-burnt hands rough from working in the fields all day. He frowned at her with concern. "You're carrying a baby now. Traveling that far is risky. The road crosses several villages. If anything happens, I might not be there in time. Better wait until I'm free. Then we'll go together." Nak shook her head softly. "You still have too much work on the farm. I can manage alone. It's only a few miles. And I'm feeling strong. My parents long to see me. I can't keep them waiting." Min reached out and touched the cradle. Her father had woven it by hand, every bamboo strip tight and sturdy, the fresh scent of bamboo still lingering. Min sighed. "All right then, but please be careful. Leave early. Come back early. If anything happens, stop at someone's house for help. Don't push yourself." Nak smiled faintly, but the smile quickly faded as a gust of wind swept through, snuffing out the fire and plunging the house into darkness. Outside, dogs barked wildly, as though warning of misfortune. She pulled her shawl tight, whispering to herself, "It's just the wind, nothing more." Above, the thin crescent moon hung pale in the sky, casting a dim glow over rustling bamboo. Then Nak suddenly heard a whisper brush past her ear. The voice was broken, faint, but icy. "Don't go, that place is cold." Nak froze, eyes wide, scanning the yard outside. Nothing but shadows. Min looked at her, puzzled. "What's wrong?" She bit her lip, shaking her head. "Nothing, I must have imagined it." Leaning against the wooden wall, she clutched her belly, though her heart pounded furiously. The whisper still echoed in her mind. That night, the wind roared louder than usual. Bamboo shadows stretched long across the ground, twisting like skeletal arms reaching out of the darkness. Nak lay on her side, cradling her stomach, eyes squeezed shut, but sleep refused to come. Each time the wind battered the eaves, she thought she heard muffled sobs just outside. Breathing fast, she whispered a prayer. "Mother, please protect me. Tomorrow, I'll return to Doi village, nothing bad will happen." Outside, black clouds swallowed the moon. My village sank into suffocating darkness. And within that darkness, it felt as if unseen eyes were watching the young woman's every move. Asterisk, the next morning, the sky was still shrouded in mist. The crow of roosters blended with the chirping of birds, signaling a new day. Nak packed a few belongings, placing the bamboo cradle neatly inside the basket. Her eyes were red from a sleepless night, yet her voice tried to sound steady. "Don't worry, I'll only be gone for a while. I'll be back by afternoon." Min stood in the yard, his hands clenched tight, as if he wanted to hold her back. At last, he sighed and spoke heavily. "Promise me, if you feel tired, stop and rest. If something feels wrong, turn back immediately. I have a bad feeling, something gnaws at me inside." Nak placed her hand on his shoulder, her gaze tender yet resolute. "Don't worry, everything will be fine. I'll go now. Take care of yourself in the fields." She stepped out the gate, her small figure swallowed by the thick fog. Min watched her, his heart twisting, his trembling lips parted as if to call her back. but the howling wind choked his voice into silence. The road from my village to Doi village was familiar, only a few miles long, but that morning, the fog was so dense she could barely see anyone just a few steps ahead. The bamboo groves along the path creaked and snapped against each other, like brittle bones breaking. Nock held her belly and walked slowly. With every heartbeat, the cold seeped from the soles of her feet up to her nape. Sweat trickled down her forehead despite the early morning chill. Reaching a lonely stretch shaded by an ancient banyan tree, she stopped to catch her breath. The bamboo cradle felt heavier than usual, the strap threatening to slip from her hands. She murmured to herself, "It's just fatigue. Nothing's wrong, just keep walking. And I'll reach Doi village soon." Suddenly, a gust swept through. The banyan leaves rustled violently, and the shadows beneath its branches thickened as if someone were hiding there. Nock clearly heard a low murmur drifting from within. "Turn back, don't go. That place is not meant for you." Her body shuddered, eyes darting around, but no one was there. She swallowed hard and quickened her pace. The dirt path was uneven, gravel cutting into her sandals, but she dared not stop. Out of nowhere, a black dog lunged from the bushes, growling. Its eyes glowed red, and its barking shattered the silence. Vicious and sharp, Nock stumbled back, clutching the bamboo cradle tight, stammering, "Go away, get out of here." The dog stood its ground, hackles raised, fangs bared. It didn't bite, only growled while staring straight at the cradle. Then, with a strange shriek, it spun around and bolted, tail tucked tight between its legs. Nock gasped for air, her heart pounding like a village drum. In her arms, the cradle trembled faintly, as though touched by unseen hands. "No, impossible. It's just my imagination." Biting her lip, she hurried on, leaving the banyan and its shadows behind. By noon, sunlight broke through, yet the fog still hung low. Lifting her head, she glimpsed the faint outline of Doi village in the distance. Relief softened her chest, and she told herself her parents' warm welcome was just ahead. But then, farther down the road stood a lone figure, blocking her path, thin, frail, with hair hanging over half its face. It didn't move, it didn't speak. Nock froze, her legs weak, cold sweat breaking out all over. The wind rose again, carrying a faint, broken whisper. "Nock, turn back, don't go there." She trembled, stepping back, yet the thought of her waiting parents pushed her forward. She gripped the cradle tighter and forced her feet ahead. As she drew closer, she realized the figure had vanished, only emptiness remained. Chilling and hollow, she swallowed hard, trying to steady herself. "No, it's nothing, just an illusion." But the faster she walked, the clearer the sound became, soft, pitiful cries of a baby in the wind. It followed her, as if weeping right behind her back. Nock spun around, but the path was empty, only bamboo swaying and whispering. A sudden sharp pain clenched her belly, cutting like a knife. She dropped to her knees, clutching her stomach, her breath ragged. On the deserted road, the cries of an infant rose and fell, mingling with the moan of the wind across the fields, thickening the air with a suffocating dread. Dash dash dash. Nock staggered forward, clutching her belly as sharp pains racked her body, sweat soaking the back of her blouse. Then, from a distance, a familiar voice rang out. "It's Nock, she's home, dear." Her father's voice was hoarse but joyful. The bamboo gate of the old house swung open, and her mother rushed out, eyes brimming with tears. "Good heavens, why did you come alone? With your belly this big? We've been worried sick." Nock forced a smile, hiding the fear she had just endured. "I'm fine, Mother. I missed home, so I had to come. And I brought the cradle Father made, so you could check if it's sturdy enough." Her father stepped forward, brushing the dew from her damp hair. His eyes lit with pride at the sight of the bamboo cradle. Though sorrow still lingered, "I used bamboo from our village. It's strong. I only pray my grandchild will sleep peacefully in it, without suffering." A chill ran down Nock's spine. Her father's words echoed in her mind, mingling with the morning's whisper. Asterisk. "That place is not meant for you." She shivered, clutching her belly tighter. Inside the thatched house, Lunch was laid out: vegetable soup, braised fish, and pickled eggplant. Her parents filled her bowl again and again, urging her to eat for strength. Knox smiled faintly, forcing down each bite, her throat tight. Every so often, faint cries of an infant rang in her ears, making the chopsticks tremble in her hand. Her mother frowned. "What's wrong? Can't eat?" Knox pressed her lips together, forcing an answer. "I'm just tired from the long walk. The baby moved a lot last night." Her mother nodded without suspicion, gently rubbing her daughter's belly and whispering prayers for the ancestors' blessing. Evening fell quickly. The sun dipped behind the bamboo hedges, bleeding red across the sky like spilled blood. Her parents urged her to stay the night and return tomorrow, but she shook her head, anxiety flickering in her eyes. "I can't. Min has to manage the fields alone. It's too hard for him. I promised I'd return the same day, and I must keep my word." Her mother clasped her hand, voice trembling. "The road is lonely, and you're not strong. Going alone will keep me awake all night." Knock looked at them, heart heavy, yet her resolve held. "I'll be back quickly. Don't worry. If something happens, I'll stop by a neighbor's house. I can manage." She hugged her mother tightly, inhaling the familiar scent of wood smoke and worn fabric, bittersweet and piercing. Her father stood silent, placing a rough hand on her shoulder, voice thick with emotion. "Then keep the cradle safe. It's my gift to the child." Knock turned away, eyes glistening. The bamboo cradle swayed lightly in her grip, creaking as though a baby shifted inside. Startled, she tightened the strap, whispering to herself, "It's nothing, just the wind." Twilight deepened. The road stretched endlessly, darkness spilling over it like ink. Insects buzzed, their chorus broken by gusts of wind whipping across the empty fields. Suddenly, Knock heard footsteps behind her, slow, steady, following. She spun around. The road was empty, only bamboo trembling in the night breeze. Who's there?" No reply, only the wail of a newborn rose sharp in her ear. The eerie sound made her collapse to her knees, clutching her belly, her heart pounding wildly. "Please, don't hurt me, someone help." The crying stopped, silence thickened, so heavy she could hear her own ragged breathing. Knock forced herself upright, vision blurred in the dense fog. Ahead, the ancient banyan loomed, its massive shadow crouching like a monstrous beast waiting. And it was there that the nightmare began. Asterisk. The road home passed through Cat Village, little more than a narrow path cutting across the fields. By day, people still traveled it, but once night fell, the stretch was deserted, abandoned as if cursed. Locals whispered that pregnant women who crossed here rarely escaped misfortune. Knock clutched her belly, gasping for breath with each step. The stabbing pain drenched her in sweat. The bamboo cradle in her arms felt unbearably heavy, creaking like it was weeping. On the wind, the sound of a baby crying grew louder and clearer. "No, I can't stop. I have to reach the village. Someone must help me." Cat Village appeared faintly ahead, a handful of low huts, oil lamps flickering weakly behind wooden shutters. Trembling, Knock pounded on the first door she saw. "Please, open up. I'm in pain, help me. I beg you." The door creaked open. A man in his 60s, gaunt-faced and cold-eyed, frowned at her swollen belly. With a harsh gesture, he waved her away. "Go, don't set foot in my house. A pregnant woman brings misfortune. You'll curse my whole family." Tears streaked Knock's face as she clasped her hands, bowing desperately. "Please, just let me sit a moment, just a sip of water. I'm in too much pain." But the man barked angrily and slammed the door shut. "Get out, or I'll call the others to chase you off." The metallic rattle of a lock rang in the cold night. Knock sobbed, clutching her belly as she dragged herself to the next house. Inside a shabby hut, shouting erupted, pots clattered. A drunken man cursed, his wife weeping quietly. Knock summoned her strength and knocked. "Please, just let me rest here a while." The man roared from within. "Get lost. I can't even take care of myself, much less you." Harsh curses drowned out her choked pleas. The door stayed shut. No one cared. She collapsed by the roadside, gasping, eyes blurred with tears. From the shadows, a thin woman appeared, her hair wild and tangled. She stared at Nock, eyes cold as ice. Nock trembled, forcing herself upright. "Auntie, please. I can't bear it any longer, let me in. I beg you." The woman's lips curved into a faint, lifeless smile. Her voice was flat, steady. "I once had a child. But they made me get rid of it. Its cries follow me even now. Don't come in. No one here can save you." Nock recoiled, clutching the cradle tightly. "Please, don't say that. I'm in agony." The woman turned away, her voice drifting back with the wind. "Find a shaman from another village. Here, there's only cold and emptiness." Nock gripped a fence post, her whole body shaking. The cries of an infant shrieked suddenly, louder, as if erupting from inside her chest. Dark blood seeped down her legs, soaking into the damp earth. She screamed in despair. "Someone, please help, save me and my child." The village lay deathly still. Only the chilling howls of dogs rose and fell, echoing through the oppressive night. At the end of the path, the old banyan loomed once more, its sprawling branches reaching down like a monstrous hand. And there, shadows began to gather. Nock dragged herself forward, one hand clutching her belly, the other gripping the bamboo cradle. Blood trickled down her heels, staining the earth red with every step. Her breath came in short, ragged gasps, as if it might stop at any moment. The ancient banyan loomed at the edge of the village, its sprawling canopy swallowing the path in shadow. Beneath it, the darkness was so thick it seemed tangible, as though one could reach out and touch it. Nock collapsed, her head striking a moss-covered stone, her vision blurred, her ears filled only with the piercing wails of a baby. Through the haze, she saw it, a shadowy figure standing beside her, faint, but every detail distinct. A deathly pale face, hollow eyes, lips curled into a chilling smile. A voice rasped out, broken and distant, as if rising from deep within the earth. "You don't belong here?" Nock trembled, her lips stammering. Who are you, please? Stay away." The figure did not move. It only tilted its head, those empty eyes fixed on her swollen belly. Nock screamed, scrambling backward, but the stabbing pain dragged her down. "No, don't take my child." Icy air closed in, gusts slicing her skin like blades. Nock clutched her stomach, vision swimming, cold sweat pouring. Then, a whisper brushed her ear, so close, so numbing it froze her to the bone. "It's so cold here, come with me." Nock cried out, her scream tearing through the night. "Min, help me." The moment the plea left her lips, her vision went black, her body crumpled against the damp earth. The bamboo cradle slipped from her grasp, rolling to the roots of the banyan, creaking softly as though rocked by invisible hands. In the distance, a few doors cracked open. Villagers peered out, their eyes following the scene. Yet no one dared step forward. They whispered in the dark. "That woman, the spirits have taken her. To interfere is to bring disaster on ourselves." One by one, the doors shut tight. Only Nock remained, motionless in the spreading pool of blood. The cries of an infant faded, replaced by the mournful whistle of the wind, like a lullaby of grief. At the banyan's roots, the shadow dissolved into the night, leaving the cradle trembling faintly, as if an unseen child still lay within, hungry, wailing in the darkness. That night, the wind howled across the fields, flattening the rice stalks as if countless invisible hands were clawing at them. In my village, Min sat by the fire, his heart burning with unease. He glanced out into the yard where fine drizzle fell, and in the distance, the chilling howls of dogs rose and fell. "Something's wrong. Nock has been gone all day and hasn't returned," he muttered, restless, unable to sit still. From the gate, his frail mother's voice trembled. "Why don't you go to Doi village and look for her? I can't shake this dread." "My son." Before Min could answer, a faint, broken cry drifted from the end of the lane. "Min, help me." He jolted upright and rushed out. The night was pitch dark, but he caught sight of Nock's staggering figure. Her clothes were torn, blood soaking down her legs. Still, she clutched the bamboo cradle tightly, her eyes vacant, her lips trembling. I'm in so much pain. Take care of my child for me." Nok collapsed at the gate. Min dropped to his knees, lifting her in his arms. Her body was limp, ice cold. He shook her desperately, voice breaking. "Nok, don't leave me, open your eyes. Look at me." She managed only a whisper. "Cat village. They wouldn't let me in. Everyone turned me away. The shadow. Under the banyan, it followed me." Her eyes rolled wide, then shut. Her breath faded into nothing. Blood pooled across the earthen yard. The bamboo cradle slipped to the side, creaking softly, like a mournful lullaby. Min's wails tore through the night, raw and unending. The village dogs howled in chorus, their cries stretching long, echoing his grief. Neighbors hurried over, some with torches, others whispering in dread. One woman's voice shook. "I saw her this morning passing through Cat Village. How could this happen so soon?" Another muttered darkly. "They say Cat Village shuns pregnant women. She died because they turned her away. Oh, heaven have mercy." Min clutched his wife's lifeless body, his eyes blazing red. He roared into the storm. Why didn't anyone help her? Why? The night sky erupted with thunder and lightning, the wind screaming through the fields. Amidst his cries, Nok departed this world, together with the child who never had the chance to cry out in life. The next day, beside her fresh grave, the bamboo cradle was placed at the edge of the mound. Villagers whispered that at night, it still rocked gently on its own, its creaks heavy with sorrow. And so began Min's endless nights of torment, haunted by Nok's blood-soaked figure drifting before the doorway, calling his name through heart-rending sobs. The freshly turned grave still smelled of damp earth. Grass had not yet had a chance to grow. Everyone in my village felt heavy-hearted when passing by, but no one dared linger. They said that whenever the wind blew, Nok's grave would emit soft, mournful moans as if someone below the soil was wailing. On the first night after the funeral, Min sat dazed at the table, the oil lamp flickering a weak yellow. His eyes were bloodshot and he could not close them. Outside, the crescent moon hung low, casting a cold, bluish light across the old tiled roofs. Suddenly, a soft knocking sounded at the door. Knock, knock, knock. Min's heart leapt. He peered toward the porch. The bamboo door trembled as if some hand tapped it lightly. Who's out there? No answer came, only the gusting wind. Min, hand shaking, took the lamp and stepped outside. The moment he eased the door open, a breath of icy air rushed in. At the gate, mist lay thick, and there, a familiar figure stood. Nok. Her clothes were ragged and caked with mud. Hair hung over half her face. Dark blood stained her belly and spread across her dress. Her eyes were wide and empty. "Min, open the door for me, it's so cold." Her voice trembled, distant, as if coming from far away. Min reeled back. The lamp slipped and shattered on the ground. "Nok, no, you're dead. This can't be." Nok stepped forward. The old bamboo cradle suddenly appeared behind her, creaking as it swayed. From inside the cradle came the faint, feeble cry of a baby. "It's hungry, let it nurse." "Min," he screamed, clutching his head. "God help me, please, don't appear like this." Nok bowed her head and her hair fell over her face. The crying from the cradle grew louder and more piercing, like a knife twisting in his chest. Then, both the figure and the cradle dissolved into the fog. Only the courtyard remained, cold and silent, as if no one had ever stood there. Min collapsed, gasping, sweat pouring down his face. From that night on, every time the moon rose, the knocking at the door began again. The cries from beneath the ground echoed up, dragging Min into a spiraling nightmare with no escape. All that night, Min did not sleep. He sat dazed beside the bamboo cradle, his bloodshot eyes fixed on it. Nok's whisper kept echoing in his head. They abandoned me. They laughed when I screamed. They pushed me out onto the road. Min trembled, his hands gripping the chair so hard his knuckles bled. The pain of losing his wife and child burned into a raging fire of hatred. The next morning, the villagers saw Min stumbling out the gate, his clothes stained, dark circles under his eyes. He muttered to himself, "They must pay, each one by one. An old neighbor woman called after him. "Min, where are you going? You look terrible." He didn't answer, only glanced back. The bloodshot stare froze the woman to her bones. At dusk, Min sat by Nok's grave. The wind sighed through the bamboo. The whispers came again, clear as if someone was breathing in his ear. "Do not spare them, every last breath of mine." They all heard it, and they turned away. Min collapsed onto the mound, pounding it with his fists and hoarse with shouting. "Nok, show me the way, tell me how, let me avenge you." The ground over the grave trembled faintly. The bamboo cradle placed beside it began to rock on its own. A baby's cry rose, thin and wrenching. Then Nok's figure appeared in the dark, long hair obscuring half her face. A hand stained with blood pointing into the distance. Cat Village. Where it began, will be where it ends. Min looked up, his eyes empty. He let out a dry, hollow laugh that blended with the wind and sounded terrifying. That night he wrapped only a length of rope in the bamboo cradle, and silently took the footpath toward Cat Village. Each step he took seemed to trample on the mounting weight of his grief and rage. The people of Mai watched Min's shadow disappear and shuddered. They whispered among themselves, "He isn't even human anymore." From that moment, Nok's vengeful spirit had truly seized Min's soul, turning him into an instrument of retribution. That night, Cat Village lay in eerie silence. The wind whistled through every crack in the doors, and the bamboo by the pond creaked like mournful groans. Inside a 3-room tiled house, Elder Tam, the village chief, tossed restlessly. Sweat dampened his face, yet his palms were icy cold. Half asleep, he kept hearing a knocking in his head. Knock, knock, knock. He sat bolt upright, glancing around. Nothing, only darkness pressing in. Just as he lay back down, a woman's moan rose right outside the window. "Give it back to me." Elder Tam jolted, seizing the oil lamp with trembling hands. Its dim glow spilled onto the yard. There stood a woman, hair hanging in tangled sheets over her face, clothes in tatters. Her belly bulged grotesquely, stained crimson with blood. At her feet, a bamboo cradle swayed on its own, creaking. Elder Tam's body shook violently. "Dear God, who are you?" The figure lifted her head. Her face was ghostly pale, eyes hollow and black. Her voice was a whisper that tore at the soul. "I'm so cold? You cast me out, left me to die on the road?" Elder Tam stumbled back, stammering, "No, I didn't." The cradle erupted with a baby's shriek. The cries swelled, shrill and relentless, stabbing through the night. The woman stepped forward, each heavy stride leaving bloody stains across the ground. Panicked, Elder Tam bolted out the back door, sprinting toward the riverbank. But the moment his foot touched the water's edge, something yanked his leg down. He slipped, striking his head against a bamboo stake. Freezing water surged over his face. In the blur of thrashing, he opened his eyes, and beneath the river saw a ghastly pale face. Void eyes staring straight at him. The bamboo cradle floated past, creaking as it rocked. Elder Tam screamed, arms flailing, but his mouth could only form broken words before he sank beneath the surface. "That woman, she's standing on the bank." The water closed over him. The river fell silent, only the moaning wind, the chirp of insects, and the cradle drifting aimlessly, creaking with an unearthly sound, remained. By morning, they pulled Elder Tam's corpse from the water, mouth gaping, eyes wide, hands clawing at nothing. The villagers whispered in fear. "The spirits took him. The woman who died beneath the banyan has returned." The death of Elder Tam plunged the villagers into terror. Every house bolted its doors and kept incense burning through the night. People whispered that the pregnant woman's spirit still lingered by the banyan and along the riverbank. In a crumbling thatch-roofed house at the edge of the village, Mrs. Lean sat with her knees hugged to her chest, staring wide-eyed at the oil lamp. She still remembered the night Nok had knocked and begged for help, and how coldly she had said, "Go away, I have troubles enough of my own." Now that sentence replayed in her head like a knife. That night the wind rushed through the eaves, the walls creaked. A child's cry rang out in the yard, faint at first. then growing steadily clearer. Wah, wah, cold, hungry? Mrs. Lean shivered, clutching her chest. Who's out there? She called. The door slammed open with a screech. A cold draft poured in. In the middle of the yard, the bamboo cradle rocked itself, creaking in cadence. A smear of sticky blood stained the cradle. On the porch stood Knock, hair long and loose, face deathly pale, eyes deep and black. She whispered, "Why did you send me away? Why did you let my child and me die?" Mrs. Lean screamed and bolted for the inner room, slamming the door, but the infant's cry rose right by her ear. Knock's shadow appeared inside the room, blood dripping from her belly onto the floor. "My child is hungry. Can't you hear him?" she whispered. Mrs. Lean shrieked, clawing at the mud wall. In a panic, she grabbed the rope hanging from a beam, threw it around her neck and fumbled for the knot, pleading out loud, "Stop following me. I was wrong, forgive me." The lamp guttered. In the darkness, there was the sound of a chair crashing, then a long, drawn-out, terrible rasp. By morning the villagers found Mrs. Lean hanging, eyes rolled back, lips blue. On the mud wall beneath her, a smear of blood had been scrawled, shaky as if written with the finger of the dead. Asterisk I saw her. Asterisk asterisk. Cat Village convulsed with fear. Folks whispered and no one dared speak Knock's name aloud anymore. But everyone knew the vengeance had not ended. The next night, in a rickety house near the market, a drunken man slept fitfully. He was the one who had shoved Knock away when she begged at his door. In his stupor he mumbled, "Pregnant women bring bad luck, don't come near my house." A baby's cry rose from beneath his bed, wah, wah, piercing and relentless. He jolted awake, reached down, and a freezing hand clamped his wrist and yanked. "Help, help me." The house rang with a scream. When neighbors burst in, he lay dead, eyes wide, tongue protruding as if strangled. And it didn't stop there. Another family, husband and wife who had turned their backs on Knock as she staggered past, were both found dead that night. Their faces were purple, mouths twisted, as if an invisible hand had squeezed the life out of them. Their small child stammered in a hoarse voice, "I saw a woman, her belly full of blood, carrying a bamboo cradle, standing in the corner." The bad news piled up. In just 3 nights, 4 people had perished in horrifying circumstances. Cat Village felt like it sat on a powder keg. Children wailed. Adults shut their doors tight and murmured desperate prayers. "Heaven help us, her wronged spirit has come back for vengeance." This whole village is cursed. Fear reached a fever pitch. Finally the village elders agreed to seek out Thay Veen, a well-known spirit medium who could see the dead. On the full moon night, Thay Veen arrived at Cat Village's gate. The moment he stepped across, he shuddered. A dense, chilling cold radiated through the place. He sighed softly. This is heavy animosity, not an ordinary matter. The cries of a wronged soul filled the air and the earth. The villagers fell to their knees, begging, "Please, Master, save our village, otherwise no one will survive." Thay Veen scanned the hamlet quietly. His gaze rested on the far end of the lane, the site of Elder Tam's house. The corner of his mouth twitched and his voice dropped low. "There, something hides there, and it will not stop by itself." That night the moon was dim and the mist fell thick, covering the whole village like a heavy curtain. Thay Veen walked slowly along the dirt road, clutching his bamboo staff and murmuring prayers. The dogs in the neighborhood howled in long, mournful bursts that sent chills down everyone's spine. The villagers followed behind, faces ashen and hands trembling. "Master, I hear it crying, right by Elder Tam's pond." "Heavens, listen, the cradle is creaking." True enough, from a distance came that creak, like a cradle being rocked back and forth in the dark. The newborn's cry rose and fell, sometimes near, sometimes far, cutting into everyone's ears. Thay Veen stopped in front of Elder Tam's old house. The rotten door squeaked in the wind. On the threshold a small bamboo cradle sat empty except for a scrap of cloth stained with dark blood. That cradle. It looks exactly like the one Knock carried the other day," a woman whispered. Weak with fear, Thay Veen bent close. A chill radiated from the cradle and crawled into his skin. He shut his eyes and raised the talisman in his hand. This is no ordinary object. It's a tether for a soul. Calling the grudges back, someone, or something, is using this cradle as shelter. From inside the house a man's voice answered, low and half familiar, half strange. What are you people doing here? The villagers flinched and huddled behind Thaveen. In the flickering light, a young man stepped out, his face pale and his eyes glowing red like embers. He hugged the cradle to his chest and sneered. This is my child. No one touches it. That laugh struck everyone like a blow. Legs went weak and old hands trembled. An old woman cried out in a quavering voice. My God, isn't that Min? Nock's husband. Thaveen narrowed his eyes and gripped his staff harder. His voice grew grave. Min, your body is already dead. The thing standing before me now is only a wronged spirit possessing a corpse. The air thickened. The baby's cry rose again from the cradle, mingling with Min's chilling laughter. The villagers broke out in cold sweat and dropped to their knees. This village will pay, one life after another? A fierce wind rose, rattling the thatch as if the roof might lift away. The moon was swallowed by black clouds and the yard sank into gloom. The infant's cry from the cradle rose again, long, harsh, drilling straight into the heart. Thaveen stepped forward calmly. He set a gold talisman on the ground and held his rattan whip. Its tip stained with the blood of a black dog. His voice deepened. Min, your soul is bound by vengeful anger. If you seek revenge, you have already taken it. Let go, so Nock and the child can be released. Min's blood-red eyes blazed brighter. He gave a harsh, mocking laugh, his voice breaking. Let go? When my wife and child died in agony. Blood all over the road. Who let go then? When this village drove us away and turned its face, who let go? No, it is not enough. They all must die. The villagers collapsed to their knees, many breaking into sobs. Have mercy, we were wrong. Don't kill anymore. Their cries mixed with the wind and made the air tremble. Min raised his gaunt arm, and from the darkness appeared bloody hands that reached out and clamped onto the throats of those kneeling. They screamed, eyes rolling back, save me, help me. Without hesitation, Thaveen lashed his rattan whip down onto the ground. A blue flame flared. The bloody hands screamed in pain and vanished. Enough, he thundered, voice commanding. Min, Nock is watching you. See how she weeps. For a moment, behind Min the gaunt figure of a woman appeared, hair loose, belly bloated with blood, eyes full of tears. Nock reached out as if to touch her husband's shoulder. Min, come back to me. Don't make this suffering worse. The red eyes trembled for an instant, but then Min howled, a cry that ripped through the night. No, I cannot go. This hatred is not avenged yet. A violent gale whipped up, snuffing the talisman's flame. The bamboo cradle toppled, spinning and screeching with a horrible sound. The cold bit so deep everyone trembled and their lips went blue. Thaveen ground his teeth, pressed his hands into a ritual seal, and chanted. He knew this confrontation had only just begun, and unless he could wrest control, Min's wronged spirit would consume the entire cat village. The wind screamed through the cracks in the walls, tearing at the bamboo screens. An oil lamp in a villager's hand guttered out, plunging the place into thick darkness. The bamboo cradle on the ground began to rock with a horrible creak, each shriek making cold sweat break out along everyone's backs. Thaveen planted his rattan whip upright and intoned a prayer, voice firm. The living and the dead must be kept apart. I command by the authority of heaven and earth, disperse this vengeful spirit. He snapped the whip down. A flare of blue fire lit Min's face. But that face was no longer human. Sallow skin, deep red hollows under the eyes, mouth stretched wide, teeth stained with blood. Min growled like a beast trapped in a cave. Your old man's charms cannot bind me. His chest heaved, and suddenly he opened his mouth and expelled a black, swirling smoke that shot straight at Thaveen. The villagers screamed and scrambled away in terror. God help us, Master, it will kill us all. Thaveen swept his hand and produced a large talisman, pressing it to the earth. Immediately a ring of flame burst up, blocking the black smoke. The fire hissed and filled the air with a choking, acrid smell. Min howled, clawing at his face until bright blood spattered out. Yet a moment later he jerked his head up and sneered. The more you forbid me, the stronger I grow. Their blood will feed me. At once shadowy figures crowded in at the four corners of the house. Faces of those who had died in recent nights. Elder Tam with eyes wide. Mrs. Lean with tongue protruding. The drunken man with milky eyes. All of them lumbered forward, moaning. We saw her. It's so cold. The villagers wailed, huddling together. An old woman clutched her grandchild, sobbing. Heaven, knock, spare this village, have mercy on us. Thay Veen poured all his strength into the ritual. His hands shook under the pressure of the dense grudges. He cried out, voice strained. Min, if there is still any love left in you, look, your wife and child do not want to see more blood. At that instant Nock's cry echoed through the wind, long, mournful, full of sorrow, as if cutting through the very layer of malice. The bamboo cradle suddenly froze. Still as stone, Min faltered. For a flicker in his red eyes there shone a cloudy glimmer, like a single tear. Then he roared, more furious than ever. No, we will all die with me. He stamped the ground. A red stain fanned out, giving off a sickening metallic stench. The surrounding restless spirits surged forward with gaping mouths, their wails tearing the night apart. The whole house shook violently, as if about to collapse. The house creaked and the bamboo walls shuddered. Thin panels slid down in pieces. The anguished wails of the wronged spirits overlapped, like wind sweeping through a graveyard. Villagers clung to one another, trembling. Some fainted on the spot. Thay Veen drew from his sleeve a deep red talisman, its ancient Chinese characters squiggled by hand. He pressed it to his chest, closed his eyes, and intoned the chant in a booming voice. Heaven and earth bear witness. Yin and yang be revealed. O anguished souls, manifest yourselves that you may be resolved. The wind stilled. The air fell so silent it felt suffocating. The bamboo cradle shivered with a faint creak. And then Nock's form slowly materialized, hair loose over her face. Belly swollen, clothes torn and stained with blood, eyes rimmed with tears. The villagers cried out, but Nock harmed no one. She walked slowly toward Min. Min, hear me? Let it go. Min roared, his red eyes trembling. No, they killed me, they left me to die. How can I ever forget? Nock lifted a thin, pale hand and touched her husband's face. Though a spirit, that touch eased the suffocating pressure in the air for a moment. I am so cold, I don't want to see more blood. Min trembled, his voice breaking. But this hatred tears my heart apart. Seizing the moment, Thay Veen took out an old wooden seal and slammed it down hard on the earth. A ring of blue fire flared up, encircling Min and Nock. A soul must return to where it belongs. Min, listen to your wife. Let them both rest in peace. The villagers held their breath, eyes fixed. The blue light washed over the wronged pair's faces, terrifying and sorrowful at once. Suddenly Min clutched his head and screamed, convulsing as if torn in two. The vengeful energy around him swelled and forced even Thay Veen to step back. No, I will not go. I will drag them all down with me. The whole house lurched. The thatch roof ripped upward and the ground beneath thundered. Villagers wailed, many dropping to their knees, striking their heads on the ground in frantic prayers. The wind screamed in gusts, squeezing everyone's chests. Bamboo posts rattled violently, tiles shattered and clattered down, and the ground underfoot cracked open. Inside the ring of blue fire, Min writhed as black vengeful fumes poured out of him like smoke, forming into crawling specters that slithered around the yard. A trembling villager screamed, It's coming for us. Somebody help me. The specters had no human faces, only dense black masses that lunged straight at the man. He fell backward, his throat crushed, eyes rolling. The whole village erupted in screams as people trampled one another trying to flee. Thay Veen ground his teeth, sweat soaking his back. He drove the wooden seal deep into the earth and kept tracing talismanic signs in the air. Malicious spirits, find no shelter here. By the balance of yin and yang, be gone. The blue ring flared and swallowed the specter, which screeched horribly before dissolving. But immediately more shapes burst from Min's back, howling with grotesque fury. Min roared, his cries shaking the roof. They must pay. They left me to die. Nock stood inside the circle of flame, eyes rimmed with red, voice breaking. Min, look at me, stop, don't spill any more blood. For a heartbeat Min hesitated. Then his rage surged anew. He stamped the ground, the earth split open, and dark blood welled up and spread across the yard. Villagers screamed. Blood, the ground's bleeding. Master, we're done for. An old woman fell to her knees, pounding her head and sobbing hoarsely. Nock, spare us, I beg you. In that thick, choking air, Thaveen knew that if he did not act at once, the wronged spirit would consume the entire village. He clenched his jaw and, hands trembling, pulled from his robe a worn black talisman with almost faded Chinese characters. This is the Death Ward talisman, used only once. Should I fail, we all may be lost. He drew in a deep breath and fixed his gaze on Min. Min, tonight a choice must be made. Either let go, or be erased together. Asterisk. The black talisman in Thaveen's hand trembled violently, as if about to tear apart. The blue flames around the circle flickered, on the verge of dying. The villagers held their breath, frozen. Only the wind's howl and the cradle's creak broke the silence. Thaveen cried out, his voice booming, "Heaven and earth bear witness. The blood of the wronged must return to the realm of the dead." He drew a small blade and cut his palm, letting drops of blood fall onto the talisman. Instantly a red light flared, illuminating Min's face, deathly pale, eyes blazing red, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. Min screamed and convulsed. From him, the wailing spirits poured out, shrieking as they were drawn into the talisman. The howls echoed across the night sky. No, don't, I haven't finished my vengeance. Min thrashed, black hatred spewing around him. Nock lunged forward and clung to her husband. Tears streamed down her face, voice pleading. Min, listen to me, revenge won't bring our child back, it will only keep us apart forever. I want peace, to go with you. Min froze, his red eyes glistening. His hand shook as it touched his wife's face. For a moment, the hatred seemed to ebb. But then the infant's cries shrilled ear-splittingly. The cradle spun, and blood sprayed everywhere. Min screamed violently, torn between letting go and being dragged back by rage. Thaveen hissed, Min, decide now. If you don't, your wife and child's souls will vanish with you. Min clenched his teeth, his whole body trembling. The wrath coiled tighter around him, choking his chest. Finally he looked up at the sky and cried out from the depths of his heart. Nock, I'm sorry. He let go of the cradle. It fell, shattered, and turned to dust. At the same moment, Min and Nock embraced. Their figures slowly faded, merging into the red light of the talisman. The villagers broke into sobs, dropping to their knees in prayer. The wind died down. The blood on the ground drained away, leaving only a cold, damp yard. Thaveen breathed heavily and slumped, voice hoarse. They've gone, but remember this. Indifference is the blade that kills. Do not let another soul wail through the long night. That night passed heavy. At dawn the whole village gathered in front of the communal hall. Faces were hollow, eyes red and swollen, whispers mixed with choked sobs. Asterisk. An old man leaned on his cane and trembled as he spoke. We were wrong. We let that couple die such a cruel death. A woman collapsed, pounding her chest again and again. How can this guilt ever be washed away? In a corner of the hall, children huddled together, staring out at the courtyard with shivers. Though it was daylight, the wind still felt bitter, and the bamboo leaves rustled like someone stealthily passing by. Thaveen sat against a pillar, gaunt-faced and hoarse. Every crime leaves a trace. The living and the dead may be parted, but grudges remain. Last night it wasn't only Min's soul. I heard many other voices. Those are the wronged who were never given rest. The villagers fell utterly silent. A middle-aged man asked timidly, Master, Do you mean, there are other spirits? Veen closed his eyes and nodded slowly. His voice dropped. Over the years, you have buried many things. Some bodies never buried properly. Some names never spoken. Min was only the bell that rang awakening them, but the darkness is long. A cold gust brushed through. The oil lamp in the hall flickered out and the room dimmed. Sobs echoed somewhere, as if inside the earthen walls. A young woman cried out. Who is crying? Silence folded in, leaving only a dull, mournful wail. People clung to each other, trembling. Some broke into open weeping. Others fell to frantic prostrations, begging heaven and earth. Veen opened his eyes and stared toward the misty yard. Listen closely. That is the sound of the past, coming back. An elderly woman suddenly collapsed, weeping hard. Oh God, could it be? Are they really returning? Heads turned to her, murmurs spreading. Tell us plainly, who's coming back? What are you hiding? She trembled, burying her face as she sobbed. More than 20 years ago, there was a terrible incident in our village. I was there then. A hush spread. Everyone leaned in. Veen motioned for her to continue. She drew a long breath, voice shaking. Back in the famine years, a few women from other villages came begging with their children. Our people feared bad luck, feared the hunger spreading, so we drove them off. Some were even beaten. A few mothers and children died right at the village entrance. The hall erupted in shocked cries. Some shook their heads in disbelief. My God, is that true? Why has no one ever spoken of this before? She sobbed until she choked. They were buried quickly beneath the old banyan on the lane, told to never speak of it. Over time everyone fell silent, but I've never slept peacefully since. Outside, the crying swelled into a furious chorus, as if someone were tearing their throat in agony. The wails of infants mixed with women's moans, shaking the whole hall. A pale young man stammered, voice breaking. Yesterday, I passed the banyan. The earth at its root was cracked, like something was trying to crawl out. The crowd recoiled. Many clung to one another in fear. Veen rose, his staff gripped tight, eyes flashing steel. It's time to face it. Hiding this longer is pointless. If what she says is true, those wronged spirits will not relent easily. An old farmer ground his teeth and peered toward the yard. Master, what must we do now? Veen set his jaw and held his bamboo staff firmly. Tonight, we must go to the banyan. Dig it up, even if only bones remain. They must be moved to consecrated ground. Incense offered, rites performed. If not, this village will never be at peace. A cold stillness suddenly settled over the hall. The oil lamp flared back to life, its light guttering, as if a shadow stood between the flame and the smoke. The wind sighed through the roof carrying a drawn-out whisper. Return to us? The villagers gave one terrified cry and then fell silent, their hearts pounding in the long, trembling hush. Before the ancient banyan, its drooping leaves hung like the hands of the dead reaching down. The wind howled. The insects fell silent. Only the thud of footsteps and ragged breaths broke the stillness. A man pressed incense into the earth with trembling hands and intoned, "We bow to the restless spirits. Tonight our village opens the ground. Please, do not punish us." But at that moment the soil at the banyan's base trembled. Incense sticks toppled and smoke curled in a long, snaking line like a crawling serpent. The children who had come along burst into tears. The grown folk went pale. Veen drove his staff into the ground and barked, "Dig, don't hesitate. Fear only makes it worse." A few men rolled up their sleeves and began to chop. The earth, though dry, gave easily. In a handful of swings the soil split. A fetid, choking stench rose up so foul an old woman gagged and covered her nose. "Heaven help us, it stinks. There must really be bodies down there." They struck the spade again and, with a hollow clank, metal hit something hard. Silence fell, hearts pounded. The man wielding the hoe dug with shaking hands and then shouted, "Bones, human bones?" White skulls glinted in the moonlight, tangled in the banyan's roots. Some were tiny, like newborns, others were smashed and misshapen. The crying swelled all around, this time directly in people's ears. women wailing, infants screaming, many collapsed in terror. A man flung down his tool and screamed, "Master, they're crawling out." A collective shudder ran through the crowd as pale ghostly shapes rose from the pit. One clutched a bleeding child to its chest, its face streaked with blood. Hollow eyes fixed on the onlookers. Another sat with head bowed, shoulders shaking as if sobbing. Thaveen hurriedly dug a bundle of talismans from his satchel and began chanting, pressing charms around the rim of the hole. He called out roughly, "Spirits, hear me, this village confesses. Come with me to the temple, accept offerings and incense. Do not feed your grievances upon us any longer." But the wind surged, as if dozens of invisible hands swept people to the ground. Many fell face first into the cold mud. The chorus of the wronged became a single roar. "Return the blood, return the lives." An old woman clutched her head and howled, "Master, they won't relent, they demand retribution." The ground convulsed. Bones in the pit burst free and tumbled out, piling white beneath the moon. Empty eye sockets seemed to watch the whole village. Thaveen's sweat drenched his face. His voice was hoarse, but he forced it loud. "If we do not hold rites of atonement now, this entire village will die." Panic seized the crowd. They fell to their knees, bowing and begging in unison. Sobs and pleas echoed beneath the banyan. Yet the wind only grew colder. The stench of death thickened, an awful sense that something monstrous had just been loosed from the earth. Thaveen planted his staff in the ground and pulled from his satchel the tray of offerings he had prepared. On the tray were rice, salt, boiled eggs, and a bowl of plain porridge. He placed them in the pit, lit incense, and intoned a loud, trembling prayer, each word forced from him. "Spirits, this village has committed crimes. We drove you away and beat you, and you died unjust deaths. Tonight the villagers bow and ask forgiveness. Please accept this incense, this porridge, and go in peace." A cold wind cut like a blade. The incense flame sputtered and fell, ash scattering. Pale shapes still hovered around the hole. A woman's voice rose, choked with grief and full of fury. "We were hungry, cold, clutching our children, beaten to death, our blood soaked this earth. How could we forgive?" A woman beside him began sobbing, repeatedly banging her head on the ground. "We beg you, sisters, mothers, spare our children, have mercy." The infant's cries suddenly sharpened, as if right beside every ear. One child was shoved, tumbled to the ground and screamed a terrible wail. The whole village recoiled in alarm. A man scooped the child up, hands trembling. "Master, it's possessed, its cry is different." The child's eyes rolled wildly, the wail turned into a fractured, hissing voice through clenched teeth. "Hungry, cold, take their lives?" The mother clutched her child, shaking, tears streaming. "My baby, don't say that, come home with me." Thaveen flung a handful of rice and salt toward the pit and shouted, "Little spirits, accept this offering and do not possess the living any longer." The child writhed, eyes darting, then collapsed, fainting into its mother's arms. The woman sobbed hysterically. Chaos erupted. Bones in the pit cracked and shifted as if stirred. Banyan roots burst and writhed like snakes, coiling around skulls. A huge pale figure rose through the smoke, the spirit of the first woman beaten to death all those years ago. Her face was deathly white, eyes hollow, long hair hanging loose. Her voice rolled up from the earth itself. "This whole village is guilty. The soil is stained with blood. It must be repaid in blood." People screamed, some fainted. An old farmer clung to the banyan, voice breaking. "Master, she won't forgive, what do we do now?" Thaveen gripped his talisman so hard his hands shook, sweat poured down his face. His eyes bloodshot from the strain. "If we do not erect an altar tonight, everyone here will die." The wind roared and the moon slipped behind black clouds. In the thick darkness, only the tearing cries and the restless shades circled, as if poised to swallow the whole village this very night. The towering shape of the woman hovered before them, her long hair whipping in the wind, hollow eyes leaking blood. She growled, a voice that rolled like thunder, "None of you shall live, our blood must be repaid." The men gripped their hoes and shovels with trembling hands. Some wept like children. An old woman covered her face and wailed, "Please forgive us, we were foolish, don't kill us." A chilling, rasping laugh answered, fragmented, like something stuck in the throat of the wronged. Forgive? Who forgave us then? The village fell silent, every breath held. Thaveen slammed his palm down on the offering tray and raised his voice. The hatred runs deep, but endless vengeance will not free you. Tonight I open the altar for passage, light this incense. Follow the way, if you do not let go, you will remain gaunt spirits, forever famished, never seeing daylight. The wind howled violently. The little flame over the bowl of porridge flared up like a lamp, illuminating the banyan's roots. In that light the villagers saw dozens of pale forms pressed close together, some clutching children, others with broken limbs, eyes bulging and bloodied. All of them stared unwaveringly at Thaveen. He drew his small blade, nicked his finger, let blood fall onto a talisman and pressed it to the earth, chanting rapidly, "Let this blood bear witness. Let this incense guide the way. Child spirits, parent spirits, answer my call. Follow the light and do not linger in darkness." The incense smoke thickened, folding like a curtain. Several small, pale shapes faded and the infant cries blended into the wind and died away. But the great wronged spirit remained, towering, its hollow eyes burning red. Her voice hissed, "Not enough, who will repay my life?" Panic swept through the crowd. They dropped to their knees, bowing and beating their heads. Some cried aloud, "I will shoulder it. I will atone for my father's sins. Spare my children." A young man clenched his teeth, stood and spoke with a trembling but steady voice. "If blood is needed, take my blood. I am not afraid." The spirits fell silent, their empty eyes pinning on him. The air thickened into an iciness that bit the skin. The long hair lashed out. A bony hand reached and touched his shoulder. He shuddered, eyes rolling back, foam forming at his mouth. Thaveen roared and hurled a burning charm at the spirit's body. Flames flared, a shriek thundered, rocking the banyan. Smoke and dust swirled. The great wronged spirit recoiled, hair thrashing, mouth tearing an unearthly scream. Thaveen drove his staff into the ground, sweat streaming down his face, blood dripping from his finger into the ashes. He roared out his chants, his voice rising above the wind. "Spirits of the wronged, tonight I open the altar of release. The living have bowed their heads. Now let the dead unclench their fists. Follow the light and leave this darkness behind." The wind howled, banyan leaves whipping like lashes. The towering ghostly figure staggered but refused to fade. Its hollow eyes burned crimson as its voice thundered in anguish. "No one has repaid the death I suffered." An old woman crawled forward to the offering tray, slamming her forehead to the ground until blood spattered, her voice shaking. "It was I poured the water. I drove you away. I bear this guilt. Let me carry it, but spare our children." She collapsed, blood soaking into the earth. The wails around the pit softened. A few pale, childlike spirits drifted close, gazed upon her, then slowly faded away. Seizing the moment, Thaveen raised his final talisman, dipped it in blood, and held it high. "This is the blood of one who confesses. This is the sincerity of the village. If you still cling to hatred, you will be imprisoned forever in darkness, never to see the light again." He hurled the charm at the towering specter. Flames burst crimson. A roar shook the ground as the phantom writhed, its hair searing, its form unraveling into smoke. In that instant, the villagers heard one last cry, mournful yet released. "Hungry, cold, but enough, we go now." The smoke rose into the sky. The bones in the pit trembled and then lay still. The cold wind vanished, replaced by a warm breeze, like unseen arms embracing them. The villagers wept, some clung to each other, others collapsed from exhaustion. Thaveen sank to the ground, his face hollow but his eyes glimmering with relief. He exhaled deeply. "It's over, they have gone." The oil lamp on the altar flickered brightly, incense smoke rising straight upward. The banyan stood silent once more, leaving only earth stained with blood and tears. From that night on, The people of Cat built a shrine beneath the banyan tree. Day after day, they lit incense, set out bowls of plain porridge, and never dared to forget. The cries in the wind were gone. Yet on nights of bright moon, some swore they still saw the woman's figure, long hair trailing, cradling her child, passing quietly by the village, fading into the mist. And that brings our story to an end. Thank you for listening until this moment. If you enjoyed it, please give us a like and subscribe. Your support is a great encouragement for us to create more haunting tales for you. If you have any questions or notice any mistakes, leave a comment below. Thank you for watching. Bong Toi Trong Dem will see you in the next story. This video is a fictional ghost story, crafted for entertainment and to provide a chilling experience for the audience. We do not promote superstition, nor encourage any dangerous actions mentioned within. Any resemblance to actual persons, places, or events is purely coincidental. We sincerely thank all our viewers for accompanying us here at Bong Toi Trong Dem.